All right, hello. This is an image by David Gilmore Blyth from 1863, I believe. And I want to take you through it. It's highly symbolic, as I think you can already see. There's lots of stuff in this room. It's just incredibly cluttered. But it really highlights well some of the thinking that went into Abraham Lincoln's decision to write to write and to release the Emancipation Proclamation. So let me take you through this crowded room. It looks like he's in some kind of tucked away study, or maybe in the attic of the White House. And there's just a number of things here. Well, let's take a look at some prominent symbols that you see here. Obviously, Lincoln's sitting in the center of the room. He's lost his slipper here. I think the key thing to look at, particularly with respect to the other image of the Emancipation Proclamation, is the central items here that he's got his hands on. Over here you can see he's writing a proclamation. That's the Emancipation Proclamation. Then you'll notice here on his lap he has his hand directly on the Bible, and then the Bible is resting on the Constitution of the United States. So unlike the other image where he's got his foot on the Constitution, he's actually got it on his lap, and there's a suggestion that the ideas of the Bible, the ideas in the Constitution, are kind of like coming through here, going from one hand and going to another, inspiring the writing of the Constitution, or the Proclamation. Some other prominent symbols here. You can see obviously the scales here, justice. If there's justice, the scales will be even, but of course there isn't justice with slavery, and the scales are uneven. The key is very important because it symbolizes freedom, emancipation. Over here on the bureau, you have this quote that says, "Without slavery, the war would not exist, and without slavery, it would not be continued." So, to answer the question, why are we fighting this war? Well, Lincoln had said earlier that it was about union. Now it seems that slavery is the issue. Piled up over here are things called memorials and protests. Memorials were official petitions to Congress asking for some kind of action. You see a protest from the Army of the Potomac regarding the guarding of property of traders, and so that property is most likely slaves. You see here a memorial by the Quakers. Quakers were early abolitionists. Here you have a petition from the Plymouth Church, and the Plymouth Church that's mentioned here is Henry Ward Beecher's church. We talked about him before with Beecher's Bibles, and he was a very strong abolitionist voice and a frequent critic of Lincoln. In fact, he even called Lincoln a eunuch, a border state eunuch. All right, two of the more interesting images here. We've got two people, two busts of individuals. Here's one, and that's one president, and then over here, here's another president. Well, let's go back here. This is President Buchanan, often considered one of the worst presidents of the United States because he basically allowed secession happen, believed he didn't have the power to prevent it. And you'll notice that the artist has him hanging from a rope. Over here on the mantle, a place of distinction and honor, obviously, you see another president. Who could that be? Well, it's Andrew Jackson, of all people, a slaveholder, which is perplexing. Why is a slaveholder on a mantle, in fact, directly looking at Lincoln and maybe Lincoln at him? Well, we know Andrew Jackson to be a fierce defender of Union. When South Carolina threatened to leave the Union, Andrew Jackson said, no way. And in fact, right here, there's a little slip of paper that says, "The Union must and shall be preserved." When the Union Army recaptured New Orleans, They went to the statue that had been erected in honor of General Jackson there for the Battle of New Orleans, and they inscribed these words in the base of that statue: "The Union must and shall be preserved." Down here, we have a number of things. We have some books. It says here Webster on the Constitution. Of course, that's Daniel Webster. We have the work of Clay, Henry Clay. And then here we have some books by Randolph and Calhoun. That's John C. Calhoun that we studied about. Randolph was one of the founding fathers drafting the Constitution. So he's obviously taking in a whole number of voices and opinions in making his decision. You can see, some bigger documents from bigger people, but then you also see smaller documents here, maybe from individuals that have written in here. Here's a map of the rebel states, and then this mallet here is an allusion to Lincoln's days as a rail splitter, but then of course the implication here is that the South and the Southern cause will be split apart. Oh, another sneaky little thing here. Wendell Phillips was a abolitionist, and he's got his work kind of in the fireplace. Maybe that signifies Lincoln's disagreement with extreme abolitionism. Some other symbols here. Chain, like in slavery, with some Masonic symbols here. Don't know the reason why they're there, but that's interesting. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this little tour through this important document.